Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video like up. Hope Valley felt the stir of summer's first light long before the schoolhouse bell rang on that crisp July morning. As dawn's lavender glow stretched across the prairie grass, Elizabeth Thornton tightened her shawl against a gentle breeze that smelled faintly of wildflowers and possibility. She had always felt at home in this place ever since she first stepped onto that dusty road, clutching a satchel of ambitions and a heart full of hope, but today carried a new weight. Not only was she embarking on her 13th chapter as Hope Valley's beloved school teacher, she was about to traverse a journey that neither she nor her husband, Nathan, could have anticipated when they first pledged their lives to each other. Beneath this very sky, it all began a few weeks earlier, when Elizabeth and Nathan received word of a specialist clinic in Cape Fullerton, a bustling lakeshore town several days' ride to the north. Their little son Jack, who had weathered the summer's heat with his usual giggles and curiosity, had been diagnosed with juvenile diabetes, and his blood sugar swings were proving too much for the village doctor back home. Elizabeth, whose maternal instincts were as sharp as her intellect, barely hesitated. The promise of expert care called to her like a lighthouse beacon, cutting through the fog of uncertainty. Yet the prospect of leaving Hope Valley, of stepping away from the sunlit faces of her students, the steadfast companionship of the Coulters, and the familiar rhythm of community life filled her with a wistful ache. Nathan, ever the steady anchor in her storm of concerns, offered his unwavering support. He arranged for brief but regular visits back to Hope Valley for Allie, their spirited daughter, whose laughter echoed through the schoolhouse corridors and whose budding dreams of friendship and adventure were woven tightly into the fabric of village life. Allie clung to her mother's hand when they finally set out, her wide eyes alight with both excitement and trepidation, while Elizabeth whispered reassurances that felt as much for herself as for her child. Their departure was tinged with the bittersweet under a sky-brushed pink and gold. Elizabeth placed a gentle kiss on the dusty threshold of the schoolhouse door, promising to return. Nathan loaded supplies into their covered wagon, family Bibles, Allie's favorite storybooks, and tucked carefully beside Elizabeth's sewing kit a photograph of the entire Hope Valley congregation framed in a wooden slice carved by Lee Coulter himself. Then they set off, the wagon wheels turning slowly at first as if reluctant to leave the comforting hum of home, for settling into an even cadence that would carry them toward Cape Fullerton and whatever challenges and hopes lay beyond the horizon. Meanwhile, back in the quiet heartland of Hope Valley, the community found itself adapting to the absence of its chief herald of education and compassion. Rosemary Coulter, with her lighthouse lamp burning low in the evening, slipped into the role of interim teacher with grace and unwavering patience. The Coulter home, once a place of solitary reflection for Lee after his lighthouse keeper duties, buzzed with Allie's friends, Minnie, Lucas, May, and the others, each bringing their own stories and dilemmas. Lucas, ever the adventurous surveyor, found himself contemplating new maps and plans for the town's expansion, even as he missed Elizabeth's encouraging nod across the classroom. May Sue, practicing her embroidery patterns by candlelight, dreamed of returning to the mountains where her parents lived, torn between ambition and duty. And Minnie, with her paint-stained fingertips and gentle smile, sensed within herself a yearning to step beyond the bookshop counter and claim her place as an artist in her own right. But it was in Cape Fullerton where the real crucible of season 13 would ignite. The town's stately brick buildings and cobblestone streets felt a world apart from the rolling prairie vistas, and Elizabeth marveled at how swiftly the modern clinic's doors opened for Jack's frequent checkups. She watched with a mother's fierce pride as Nathan measured syringes with precision, spoke softly to their son in the exam room's sterile glow, and stood as steadfastly as a granite bluff, while Elizabeth felt the tremor of fear beneath her composed exterior. Late at night, when the clinic's lamps dimmed to amber, they would stroll along the shore of Lake Ontario, hand in hand, sharing whispered hopes that Jack would grow strong, once more strong enough to race kites across the Cape Fullerton Commons, to learn to ride a horse, to step back into the schoolhouse he so dearly loved, under the directorship of a kindly Dr. Abernathy. Jack's condition stabilized enough for Elizabeth to catch a single breath of relief. Catherine Abernathy offered more than medical expertise. She shared tales of Cape Fullerton's own trials, stories of families torn apart by illness, communities banding together, reminding Elizabeth that hope was not reserved for those who never falter, but for those who, despite their stumbles, choose to stand tall once more. In those rainy afternoons spent by the clinic's window, Elizabeth penned letters to Hope Valley Long. Loving dispatches filled with news of Jack's progress, of Nathan's unwavering devotion, of Allie's eager arrival from home, and of the gentle kindness of Cape Fullerton's townsfolk. But she realized early on that letters alone could never capture the full tapestry of emotion she felt. The longing for home, the gratitude for healing, and the delicate promise of the future. Back in Hope Valley, each letter arrived like a treasure chest of comfort scooped open by Rosemary, who would read aloud as the children gathered around the schoolhouse hearth. Allie's schoolmates cheered for their friend's strength, painting chalk rainbows on the playground fence and rehearsing songs for the day Elizabeth would return. Lucas drafted blueprints for an expanded medical wing at the community center, inspired by the modern efficiencies he'd glimpsed in Cape Fullerton's clinic. Minnie organized a gallery night at her bookshop, where sketches and mini canvases depicting Elizabeth's travels drawn from each letter's vivid descriptions lined the shelves, their colors bright as sunflowers. And May Sue Notebook in hand-wrote poems that spun Elizabeth's journey into lyric, imagining the brave mother as a heroine in a tale as timeless as the tides, while the two worlds pulsed in parallel. Hope Valley and Cape Fullerton began to feel less like separate lives and more like chapters in a single sprawling novel. In Cape Fullerton's town square, Elizabeth discovered a small theater troupe preparing a historical tableau of pioneer life, complete with tattered stage wagons and period costumes. She volunteered to teach local children the basics of reading and arithmetic, her voice carrying a hint of Prairie Valley lilt that mingled with the town's more clipped cadence. Nathan, learning to pilot a small rowboat across the misty lake at dawn, found himself sketching designs for a lighthouse of his own, dreaming of a beacon that might someday guide him and Elizabeth back home more swiftly. It was during one such dawn row that Nathan glimpsed a small wooden tag tied to a buoy inscribed with the words Hope Valley. It was a memento, no doubt swept loose by spring floods and carried by tributaries down to the Great Lake. He retrieved it, the wood worn smooth by water, and tucked it into his coat pocket, a talisman of the home they had left behind and the home they would return to, stronger for their journey apart, by mid-August. Signs of change rippled through the boundaries of both towns. In Cape Fullerton, Jack took his first unassisted steps along the clinic's garden path, each footfall a testament to his resilience and to the dedication of Elizabeth and Nathan, who had learned new medical skills almost overnight. Dr. Abernathy, moved to tears, declared that Jack's prognosis had surpassed her most optimistic hopes. And Elizabeth pressed her forehead against the doctor's, offering a soft thank you that held more gratitude than any letter could convey. In Hope Valley, Allie stood before her classmates and delivered a stirring recital of Home Sweet Home, her voice steady, her spirit buoyed by her brother's recovery. Village folk who gathered on the green hummed along, wiping tears as rainbow chalk lingered like confetti on the fence behind them. Lucas unveiled his plans for the new clinic wing at a community meeting, earning cheers and hands raised in eager volunteerism. Minnie's gallery night overflowed with portraits of Elizabeth in Cape Fullerton, the schoolhouse lamp in the background of one, Elizabeth seated at a desk of mismatched chairs in another, smile painted in warm ochres and siennas. Each image spoke of love carried across distance, creativity born from care. As late summer's gold faded into autumn's rose-tinted dawns, Elizabeth and Nathan prepared to return to Hope Valley, their hearts brimming with stories, They packed their wagon with medical supplies generously gifted by Dr. Abernathy, volumes of pediatric care guides, and little jars of Cape Fullerton lavender honey. Now pint-sized hero in his own right, clutched a wooden toy boat crafted by a local carpenter, each plank imbued with both lake mist and community spirit. Allie, resolute in her role as Hope Valley's ambassador, fastened a ribbon braid she'd woven for her mother, promising that every stitch carried love and longing. The day of departure dawned clear and bright. Neighbors from Cape Fullerton gathered to bid farewell, draping soft quilts over the wagon rails, pressing homemade loaves of bread into Elizabeth's arms and escorting them